started smoking loads of weed, started selling drugs, getting in with the wrong people. It just spiraled so quickly. I sort of had 5 minutes to myself and I was like, what on earth am I doing? Like, this could go one of two ways. So with the boxing in my teen years, when my dad was drinking alcohol and violent towards me and my brother, it was an escape. And I think that's why I started boxing, is because growing up in that time, all I knew was violence. I mean, throughout the years, boxing has saved me so many times from rubbish life experiences or people trying to drag me into things, and it was almost like boxing was an excuse. No, I can't do that because I've got to go train. No, I can't do that because I've got to go running. And then when I stopped boxing, I had no excuse. Where I'm coaching now, I see a lot of people come in and they think they're a bit better than they are, or they, might land one shot on someone who's better than them and then they get carried away. And then in that session, then they become uncoachable because they think, oh, sorry, I've landed that one shot. I've landed my one shot. You know what I mean? I'm cool now.
And what type of boxer were you?
Funny you say that, hands down, chin up in the air,
Yeah.
floaty.
So what, counter-punching, slick?
More counter-puncher and slick.
Because that's what Matt said he was like as well. Did you come from the same gym as him?
I started at the same gym as him, which is...
Same coaches?
Yeah, Trevor Francis. That's where I started. And then I went over to Tadley Boxing Club with Paul James, Leo and Danny McLaughlin. That's where I really progressed. Just didn't really like the setup of Essex Road. I felt almost pushed out at times.
You have to feel comfortable in a gym, and the most important part of it, beyond anything, if you don't feel like you've got a good relationship when you're there and you don't enjoy going there, you're never gonna ever enjoy the sport. That's the number one thing. And I've been to so many gyms. I've been so lucky to, even in Australia, I trained in probably 10, 15 gyms, like quite a lot over a few years.
Oh, wow.
Just travelling around and having the guidance of people that were on the circuit to say, oh, you should go here for sparring on a Wednesday, and oh, you should go to this coach for a few weeks. So I've really dabbled with so much, and you grow as a person and you really start picking up what makes a gym good. And the most important thing for me is just somewhere where you feel like you're included, you're a part of a family.
Absolutely, man.
Someone that wants to be a world champion next to someone that just wants to be fit, and you're still both achieving them goals in the same session. Trying to, work that together and having a coach that understands it. To be a coach, you have to be so many things,
It's so much harder being a coach than it was a fighter. I say that now. And at the time I was fighting, my coaches always said, when I would say, oh, this is hard, I'm finding it hard, trying to make weight, trying to train 3 times a day and work so I can pay for the training. He said, fighting's easy, you wait till you coach, then you'll know how hard boxing is. Now I'm coaching. Boy, oh boy.
So what got you into coaching?
So I stopped fighting for about 2 months. I was just ticking over. I was just training, hitting the bag, keeping fit, going on a few runs, bit of skipping here and there. This was just after lockdown. And I sort of made the decision I didn't want to fight again. Hence the 2 months off. And then in the 2 months off, I just felt like there was just a big hole in me. Because I'd boxed from 10 years old till 24. So long time, same routine every day, doing the same things. Yeah, and then when I stopped, it was just like I was lost. I had no purpose. It was just like go to work, might go for a run later, might do some shadow boxing, might hit the bag. It's just that routine life just stopped and it just threw me off. And then I was like, I shouldn't just leave boxing. All the knowledge I have and the people I've trained with, the people I've sparred, the people I've met through boxing, I have so much knowledge I've gained through 15 years of fighting. It'd be silly to stop. I thought, why don't I just do some PTs in my spare time, teach people some boxing. And then, voila, 2 years down the line, here I am.
So back to what you said when you sort of stopped boxing for that couple of months. What was it like on your personal life and everything, going from being goal driven, having the next fight, the next tournament, to all of a sudden there's no real future of anything that you is all you know?
Mate, to be fair, it was horrendous. Like, I started smoking loads of weed, started selling drugs, getting in with the wrong people, and it was all within 2 months. It just spiraled so quickly. Just got into wrong crowds, doing wrong things, stupid things. Yeah, I remember one evening I was sat there, and I was just by myself, and I was like, what on earth am I doing? Like, my whole life, I haven't really... It's been around me, but I've never put myself in a position to be that person doing it. Like, all this nonsense, drugs, selling drugs, and all of this stupidness. And then, yeah, it was that was like a big wake-up call. It was like, I sort of had 5 minutes to myself, and I was like, what on earth am I doing? Like, this could go one or two ways, and I want it to go the right way, not the left. So, yeah, once again, boxing took me out of a hole. Took me out of a deep hole.
It sounds like, obviously, you were lucky to have that thought process before you maybe got arrested or whatever could have happened, because as soon as you go down that other path, that first big trigger, for example, if you were arrested or put in jail for a suspended sentence or whatever it may be, that might then change you and change your view of yourself. And so the fact that you had that idea of yourself before it got to that stage, that's it's good timing. It's good for you to realise what was going on.
Yeah, grateful, man. Grateful for it. I mean, throughout the years, boxing has saved me so many times from rubbish life experiences or people trying to drag me into things, and I could always use... It was almost like boxing was an excuse. No, I can't do that because I've got to go train. No, I can't do that because I've got to go running. Oh, no, I can't do that because coach wants me to go spar. So boxing was always like the excuse to get me out of it. And then when I stopped boxing, I had no excuse. And the people that were around me at the time, I don't know, didn't really have my best interests. So it was like, you know, trying to pull me into horrible life experiences. And then, yeah, I started coaching, and then boxing became the excuse again.
My name is Dennis McCann, professional boxer for Frank Moore and MTK Global. This is Fortress Boxing. A lot more protection, it's a no-brainer around your thumbs, around your knuckles, around your wrist. That's exactly where the problems are. They're very compact, so I feel like I'm punching hard with them on as well. And I feel like when you got sparring 14, 16 ounce gloves, the smaller wraps can't really... They're too small for the gloves, that makes sense. So these are a bit bigger, and they're getting the gloves a bit more... They're making them more compact.
So did you get your level 1, level 2 straight away, or was you just...
No, I'm not carded as an amateur coach just yet. Next year I'm going to. There's a couple of things in the pipeline that I need to be an amateur coach for, because white collar, I'm not interested in it. I never really was interested in it, but it was just easy to have people fighting because there's no rules or regs or board that you got to jump through hoops to get to be a coach. So
white collar's such a crazy sort of experience because there's so many great fighters on the white collar scene. It's got a really big mix and match of everything. You've got all of the dirty dark side that you can imagine, all the greed and corruption, a lot of money being made from the select few people. You've got people that are just trying to get fit, that are jumping in with someone that's had 10 fights before. There's 20 kilo weight difference sometimes.
yeah, some of the things I've seen are crazy. But
What's been the worst that you've seen at a white collar show?
I've seen some awful standard of boxing, but the worst thing I've seen is probably 20, I think it was 21, 22 kilos weight difference. And the coaches were like, yeah, that's cool, that's fine. And I'm there, obviously, only amateur experience because I've only boxed amateur. I was like, what on earth is going on? Like, is this really what's happening, all just so you can get a couple of ticket sales and stuff like that? And that was a turning point for me. It was like, I don't want to be a part of this.
What happened with that fight?
The guy lighter actually did make it through the 3 rounds, but first round he got dropped. Second round he got his head all bashed up and wobbled, and then the third round he just ran, just jabbed and ran.
It's so wrong. There's weight classes for a reason. 20
man.
kilos. It's hard enough if you have two people evenly matched and someone's 2 kilos heavier.
Absolutely, man.
So it's ridiculous.
20 kilos is crazy, and that was like, big turning point for me. Sort of made me realise, you know what, this ain't really boxing.
Mm-hmm. And you have the amateur mindset, which is real good grassroots boxing.
Absolutely.
So
man.
everything that you know about boxing is sort of by the book. It's, you earn your stripes in every fight. You start learning different styles. All of a sudden you've got, just mismatches, and it's a different sport. It's a bit like there's a place for it, but it's like influencer boxing.
Yeah.
People hate it, but people need to realise it's not real boxing. It's a crossover. It's its own thing. So, there's good and bad in everything, really. But if you start considering influencer boxing or white collar boxing the same as a professional boxer or a boxing show, then you're completely wrong. They're three different sports. Same thing, but completely different.
That's a very valid point. Yeah. Yeah, it is. Yeah, white collars. Crazy game, man. Crazy game.
So when you started coaching, did you have any people that you got into the ring? How long have you been coaching for?
I've been coaching 2 years. I've had 2 fighters in that time. One guy was a 90-kilo guy. Only started boxing with me because he injured his knee, so he couldn't do his MMA stuff. So I was just teaching him stand-up, and then got him a few boxing fights just to keep him ticking over. Had him 5 fights unbeaten. That was a good run. But then he's gone back over to MMA. And then a girl that I've got under me, she's had 8 fights, won 5, boxed for 2 titles. Not that they mean anything in white collar, but still good platform. She boxed at York Hall on one of her last ones. Just putting her into the amateurs next year, and then looking to go pro with her.
Brilliant.
She's the most dedicated I've ever seen, and the talent that girl has, I'm telling you now, I'd bet my house on it that she'll win a world title. 1,000,000%.
There's a lot of pro boxers that come from white collar, and it's actually good in a way. There's positives that come from white collar, like you are in a dogfight. In the amateurs sometimes, obviously, it might be a bit more technical or tip-tap, but when you're in a white collar scene and it can be quite hostile and you're in this sort of fight or flight mentality, it can be a lot better for you to experience that and then to move on to the world stage or to be on TV, because you've already had those tough experiences, and it is completely different. So I think white collar, there is a lot of positives that you can take away in it if you want to look at the good side of it.
Yeah. There are some good points, like the selling tickets and stuff like that. It's very much how pro works. You got to sell X amount of tickets, you get your commission, and my girls fought in 10-ounce gloves for title fights, 5 rounds. In the amateurs, you don't get that. In the amateurs, girls have to wear a head guard. My girl hasn't worn a head guard, so it's kind of like there are good points to it. The way the amateur boxing board works now is you have to have amateur experience before you turn pro now. So
Oh, really?
yeah, it's a must now.
Oh, I didn't know that. Because there's some good pros that have never really had any amateur experience.
Yeah, I know. I don't know how they get away with it.
Or learning on the job. But even if you look at someone like Conor Benn, that he had limited amateur experience. I know obviously everything that's happened, regardless of what's happened, he has come a long way from someone that was nearly losing to journeyman.
No, of course. He before the whole thing with him, he was definitely one of the most improved out of the UK, I would say. He's come on heaps and bounds, but with pro boxing, there's a lot of like steroid use and things like that. A lot of them are on it. A lot of them. Look at the was it Eddie Hearn, the Dazan thing that he's just recently put in, and so many people get popped. There's a handful each month that are getting popped from.
They're celebrating as well clean drug tests.
Yeah, that's
like
crazy.
I'm seeing posts now saying so and so passed their drug test. What? Why are we celebrating that? That's mandatory.
Yeah, that should be. It should just be clean test, cool, move on.
Yeah,
Next
it shouldn't
one.
even be posted. It should be just a norm. But for you to, in the UFC now they've scrapped, I think, is it VADA or something?
Yeah, I just recently read that. Yeah, scrap VADA.
So I know
crazy.
Joe Rogan's always been on about he doesn't really care if you take performance enhancing drugs. He's like, everything's performance enhancing, your nutrition, this and that. And I think the way him and Dana probably look at the sport from that point of view is they're going to have animals in the ring and they're all going to be juiced up to their eyeballs.
Dangerous though, man.
Yeah, of
It
course.
shouldn't be allowed.
Of course.
It shouldn't be allowed. Everyone should be clean, full stop, period. Because at the end of the day, you're getting in there and you're punching people in the head, elbowing, kicking. In the UFC, you know, you're dragging them to the floor and hammer fisting them to the head. It's plus steroids to that mix. It's not a good mix, and it shouldn't be allowed. But
I would like to see two types of organisations. One that's just no drug testing, where it doesn't matter what you do, it is what it is.
Yes.
And then one that's clean, where people that want to be a registered clean fighter can get their belts and titles in an even playing field.
yeah, I think that's probably the best idea. Only because there's so many people on it now. So it's hard to try and keep clean athletes with not clean athletes, because it's rife in combat sports. So yeah, maybe that's probably the best idea. Have a steroid league and a clean league.
Yeah, well, at least it gives them an outlet. It gives them all an outlet. But then I wouldn't be surprised if you get the weasel that wants to one up everyone that's natural.
Yeah, of course.
Like you get in bodybuilding, I'm pretty sure you get the naturals, and then you get the people that are just untested. So it'll be hopefully a matter of time before we have that. And there'll probably be some great fights when you start seeing some like machines that have been blasting Tren or whatever it is.
Yeah, man. Conor Ben up to heavyweight, yeah, one of them ones.
Well, you never know. You never know. I'd like to see it. Like for example, Canelo. Let's be honest. Him going up to light heavyweight and back, being popped for drug tests in the past. It's clear that he has taken substances,
Of course.
and
Of
we all just
course.
accept it and bless how he's got the best resume in the active, best active fighter, all of these things. But we all know still he failed his drug test. Tyson Fury, heavyweight champion of the world, failed a drug test. So there's a lot of dark stuff in the sport. And like when you saw with the Conor Ben thing, how Eddie Hearn sort of handled it all, it's like, how has a promoter got so much say over drug testing? Money and promoters and everything should have nothing to do with if a player's a boxer's clean or not.
Yeah, absolutely. But you said the key word in that sentence, man. It's money. Money talks in boxing now. It's all about money. You know, there's fights that should be made that aren't being made because of money. The steroid thing, you have promoters talking out, which is all to do with money. It's so money orientated now. How do you take that out now? It's far too gone.
Even if you look at gambling, you start wondering, like, there's billions being spent on big fights and things. I wonder how much influence they have on judges and referees, and it's all dirty. It's all dirty, and it's just the world we live in. It's pretty sad, to be honest.
But then you look back in boxing's history. Boxing has never been clean. You know, it was. You look back in the I think it was early 1900s. You know, the mafia are trying to fix fights, and then it goes underground and comes here, and it's never been a clean sport. I just think now it's a bit more open, so the public know a bit more. Whereas back then it was all hush hush. The mafia guys would just sit at the back and do the money thing, and someone would be a very rich man off of a fight. But now because everything's so public now, and there's cameras everywhere and social media and stuff like that, it's just brought to the forefront now. So the public can actually really see what's going on.
Yeah, well, Customato used to look over his shoulder everywhere because he didn't want to be corrupted by all the negative people. I don't know if you ever read the Mike Tyson book.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, it's crazy how it's just how you lived. You know, the amount of people that were killed over fights, and who was the boxer that died of heroin overdose? Didn't even like needles. So on December the 30th, 1970, at the age of 38. Heavyweight champion Sonny Liston died from what Las Vegas police suspected was a heroin overdose. There was no way in hell.
No way.
And he was just tied in with the wrong people, and it was just really sad to see. Sonny Liston, 38.
Yeah, that's crazy, isn't it?
38. Can you imagine if he actually had the rest of his life? You know, like if you look at Larry Holmes, for example, he was in Muhammad Ali's shadow, but Now he's still kicking about. You see him around the world on social media, doing his bit for the kids. It's it's a tragedy really, but that's all just the amount of money. Las Vegas is obviously the dirtiest place.
No, of course it is. But that's just boxing as a whole. Boxing it's a dirty sport. There's no clean aspect really to boxing.
Who's your favourite fighter at the moment, active?
It changes from day to day. I'd probably say Shakur Stevenson.
I'd agree with you. Yeah, why is that?
He's probably I'm 27 and bar Floyd Mayweather, he's probably the most talented fighter I've seen in my lifetime. Boxing IQ. He's just got everything. Everything you could possibly want out of a boxer, Shakur Stevenson has. It's only a matter of time till he's
Well, no one
there.
wants to fight him. That's the thing.
He's being ducked left, right and centre.
If Haney, I think Haney is fighting Prograis, right, at 140?
Yeah, that is soon, isn't it?
Yeah, so as soon as he fights him, I'm pretty sure he might have to vacate his lightweight title. I could be wrong. He might be given the opportunity to go back down. But again, why do you keep a title ransom if you're moving up and down? Like, there should be. It was good when they got rid of Charlo's belts when he stepped in the ring with Canelo.
Yeah.
It should be like that for everyone.
Yeah, I agree.
And if you want to go fight for your belts back, you got to go fight the mandatory that's ready. And Shakur's clearly the mandatory.
Yeah, he beats them all. Don't see no one beating Stevenson.
Everyone would probably agree besides Tank. Everyone thinks, 12 rounds.
I think he outboxes Tank. I don't think Tank would land them big shots like he usually does. I think Shakur's too clever. Way too clever.
I think he would just play with him for 12 rounds.
Personally, yeah. I don't think it would be a breeze. Maybe the first 4 to 6 rounds. I think that's when Tank would be the most dangerous. But I think Stevenson would take over.
See, I'd actually think Tank would be more dangerous later on because he knows he'd be down on the scorecards. Like he always, when you see Tank fight, the first few rounds he's feeling them out, he's watching their movements, similar to Canelo, and then you start seeing him start actually letting his hands go. And I don't know. I would say Tank would lose on a points decision.
Yeah, I'd say.
Quite comfortably.
Yeah. Stevenson, like I said, Stevenson's just too clever for him. Beats them all. That's why everyone's avoiding him. No one wants to fight him.
And who was your role model growing up? Was there anyone you used to watch?
I used to watch Muhammad Ali and Sugar Ray Robinson a lot. I had this weird obsession with Prince Nassim. I boxed in front of him in my fourth fight. And when I briefly met him at that amateur show in Finchley, I was like, do you know what? I like your style and I try and beat you. So when I was boxing in the ring in front of him, obviously I'd seen clips and stuff like that. And I remember I hit this kid, jab right hand straight down the middle. And I'd done this little shuffle thing, man, and started shuffling around the ring. And then from there I was like, do you know what? I like Prince's style. So I'm going to try and adopt it.
So was that what you would say is the most you were like in the amateurs?
Yeah, hands down, chin up. I was always dancing, but there was points where I would switch my style and just get dragged into an all-out war. Many a times, actually.
What were we just saying off air and you say about Lee Park?
Yeah, exactly that. Could have boxed the boy's head off. I did in the first round. Probably halfway through the second, that's when I thought, I'm going to sit down on my shots and just walk towards you. I always had this thing in my head that it was like, I knew my ability, but I wanted to test yours. Like, I know I can beat you, but how good are you? Like, can I take your best shot? Can you do the things that I'm doing to you? Let's see. And hands would go up, then I'd walk towards and just apply pressure. But I think that was all down to bad discipline in the boxing ring.
And what was your best win in boxing?
My best win was I won the Southern Counties title. I got robbed in the Southern Counties final, so on paper I didn't actually win it. And then went down to Brighton and rematched the boy on his home show and beat him bad, convincingly. That was probably the most fulfilling win, I should say. And then after that one, I boxed the boy that he boxed in the next round of the ABAs. And I stopped him in 2 rounds.
Nice. Did you have many stoppages in the amateurs?
Out of 20... How many fights did I have? 24 fights, I think. 2 or 3.
That's pretty good for someone who's 52 to 60 kilo. in that range?
It's all right. But see, when I sparred, I was stopping people all the time. I was dropping them, stopping them, hurting them. People pulling out of spars, and then it get to a fight, and then I think it was the weight cut. Always before a fight, I was always cutting lots of weight. So every fight I had, I never felt like I was at my strongest.
Mm-hmm.
Always felt drained. Never had a fight that I felt like 100% for.
It's weird that amateurs weight cut. When you're weighing in on the same day, it's not really doable. When I was talking to the nutritionist, it was just like, you can give or take cutting your fibre and a few things to cut a bit of water weight and whatever else. But if you're doing weight cuts, if you're trying to drop 2 kilos in 2 days or whatever, there's no way you're going to have any strength or performance after.
Mm-hmm. Yes, the weight cuts are crazy. Before the ABAs, when I was, how old was I? 16. I was 56 on the Monday. For Saturday, I had to be 50 kilos. So I had to strip that off. Within a week, the morning of the fight, I'm in a sauna, in a sweatsuit, shadow boxing, feeling like I'm going to pass out, come out. Coach puts me on the scales. I'm still 0.8 off. Yeah, all right. Put the sweatsuit back on, go back in there for another 15 minutes. It's horrible. Especially at 16, you're growing, and you shouldn't do that because it's dangerous. After the fight, after that specific fight, I couldn't move for about half an hour. I was sat on the floor in the changing room, cold towel on my head, people were pouring water bottles over my head, and it's hard. It's hard work. And I think that's what killed it for me towards the end, to when I'm 24, and they're trying to cut me down to 56 kilos, 57 kilos, and I'm walking around at 60, 61. It's a lot of weight when you haven't got a lot of weight on you.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard. The last 2 kilos they don't want to budge. The last kilo, it don't want to budge. But then, the sauna, the sweatsuits, the not eating, all things like that, it takes its toll on your body, especially when you've done it for 15 years. It's like your body just says, enough.
Do you wish you just fought at a higher weight class and just felt strong?
Yeah, because I feel I would have been much more successful. I wish I didn't fight at 50 kilos. That almost killed me.
It's quite an old school mentality to, we can get you down to this, we can get you down to that, skip a meal, do this.
Yeah.
It is, now in this day and age, it is ridiculous. And you hear stories of boxers that have done it like yourself, talking right now. There's no way in your gym you would probably let someone do what you did.
No way.
No way. And
no way on
the
earth.
biggest issue for brain damage or brain health is when you're dehydrated to the brain. Mm-hmm. So when you're cutting a kid and he's, cutting that last kilo that he can't even get off, and cutting water weight anyway when you're that slim. Mm-hmm. If you're less than 70 kilos and you haven't got much muscle, there's not much water weight there anyway. You're going to be taking it out of your vital organs. It's not coming out of your muscles. So yeah, it's an old school mentality that hopefully is changing now.
I hope so. Like you see it with the weight cutting, UFC. And boxing's got better, but like the UFC are carrying on that trend where they're killing people to make weight. Mm-hmm. Absolutely killing people. There's good documentaries on the weight cut of UFC. And who was they following? Khabib. Watching him cut weight is scary. Absolutely scary. Mm-hmm. But I suppose it's a bit different because they're getting paid for it. In amateurs, it's just your free time.
And they get 24 hours to rehydrate, where
stay before
you can, within that 24 hours, you can easily balloon up fairly healthily.
Of course.
Whereas in the amateurs, you have 2 hours sometimes not even
sometimes
2 hours.
Not even,
to have a bit of food, have like a Lucozade. And the worst is that some people do is just have water.
Yeah.
So you're not even putting electrolytes in your body. You starve yourself. You've got a 2 litre bottle of water that you've necked. You're going to be peeing it straight out in 10 minutes. And you're going to be feeling just as bad anyway. So yeah, there's a lot of issue. I think they should have seminars, even with the coaches of the level 1, level 2.
Absolutely, mate.
They should do like a nutrition seminar, basic weight cutting, what not to do. It should be implemented for fighters' safety. That
should be part of, like you said, it should be part of amateur boxing, because there's a lot of old school coaches that still do it now, and they do it, it's not adults like me and yourself. They're doing it to kids as well. As soon as you start amateur boxing, I remember when I first started at 10 years old, I think I was about 52 kilos at 10. the first thing coach said to me is, "Yeah, you need to chop 6 kilos before you even fight." It's like, I didn't even know how to do that. Do you know what I mean? I can just about spell my name. I'm 10 years old. You know what I mean? And then from 10 till 24, it was just all about weight cutting, keeping the weight low, taking the weight off.
Yeah, it shouldn't be about that at all. That should be a tiny thing that you think about at the start of the season. Oh, I've got to be about here, and you just perform consistently and eat around that weight and sit on that weight. It shouldn't be. And you're seeing now in tournaments, there are a lot of guys that are on weight all year round, and they're doing great because they're on their natural weight. It doesn't matter if someone's going to come down and be a bit bigger than you, because you're going to be stronger at your natural weight anyway. So
Yeah, I agree.
When you said that boxing saved you a few times, what was it like growing up then? Did you have issues where boxing helped?
Growing up, before I'd say about 12, it was good. My parents were together, and it seemed normal. And then when I hit about 12, 13, my dad's alcohol use went up. He was always violent, not really around. That lasted till I was about 16. Then I moved out. So when I was, how old was I? 17 or 18, I stopped boxing for a little bit because my dad got really mentally unwell. So it's hard to look after him and box at the same time because a lot of things happened. You know, he went to Park Pruitt, I think, for a little bit. Got diagnosed with bipolar, I think schizophrenia or paranoid schizophrenia or some stuff like that. While he was drinking a lot, so I stopped boxing for a little bit. Tried to help him with that, and then went back to boxing, thinking that it was a bit better. And then when I started boxing again, when I was 20 to 24. It got worse, and he was drinking a lot more. So with the boxing in my teen years, when my dad was drinking alcohol and violent towards me and my brother, it was an escape. And I think that's why I started boxing, is because growing up in that time, all I knew was violence. So like going in there and fighting people, bigger, smaller, it didn't mean a thing to me. So yeah, boxing. I used boxing as an escape from that.
And then how was it when you got a bit older and got back to boxing? Did you still see it like that, or is it only when you look back that you reflect on it?
To be honest, it was more of an escape when I was older. So when I'm 20 to 24, I moved in with him because of his alcohol use and his mental health. I wanted to really help and support him through that, and I always had a vision that it would be me and the family that would take him out of it and help heal him and make him better. It was just horrendous, drinking a bottle of gin each night, on top of a crate of beers. Before I'm going training at 6 p.m, he's half cut. I get back from training and he's double cut, not half cut, double cut, and trying to argue with me, shout at me, and a few times, there's been violence between me and him. So it was almost like when I'm older, it was more of an escape. Instead of going to a training session at 6, I would get in from work and I'd go at 5:30, and I wouldn't come back till half 9, 10. I'd spend hours and hours in the gym just to be away from that.
Was there no services to help him at all?
Tried everything, man. Tried everything. Didn't want to help. And then it was almost like he wanted the help from me, but each time we got close to me helping him, it pushed me away and then argue on. Yeah, man.
You do need to help yourself. That's the main thing.
Of course.
It can be quite conflicting. I'm sure that maybe there were times when he'd rather be drunk than be told to not be.
Yeah, of course.
And like you said, bipolar, the change of minds. You're living two lives that just don't work in harmony.
Absolutely. Yeah, it was but regards to my upbringing, it was alright. It was just tough at times, stressful. I sinned a lot and been through a lot, at a very young age. And I think that's why I've got such a wise head now, because when I'm 10 to 13, I've seen things that people wouldn't necessarily see in their whole life. You know, some big things happened in my life that I seen and had to go through when I was 16, 17. You know, like, that's part of the reason why I stopped boxing for a little bit, because my mum and dad separated, and I was left with a 3-bedroom house, all the bills, the family dog, everything, all just put on my head. But the same thing as what happened is when I stopped at the end. You know, when I'm 16, I have all these bills, I have the house, I have the dog I need to look after, I have myself I need to look after. Start getting involved with drugs and the wrong people because quick money and things like that. That lasted for a little while. And then, yeah, decided to get back into boxing because there was a close call with being arrested and things like that. I was like, I don't want to be a waste. I don't want to end up in prison, you know. And that break came when I was 17 and I was just about to turn pro. I was going to move down to London. My coach at the time was Paul James. You know, he'd spoke to a few pro clubs in London. He was like, yeah, we're going to get you set up, you're going to go pro. And then that happened. So that put a stop on what I thought was going to be my boxing career as a pro, because that's always what I wanted to do. Didn't really go to school, just trained. Went to the gym in the daytimes when I was meant to be at school because I was getting kicked out of school, and I just always had this vision that I'd be a pro boxer. Mm-hmm. And then through life experiences, every time I went to go pro, it seemed something in life was almost pulling me back. So I come to the realization when I was 24, it was like pro boxing is just not meant to happen in my life. Me being a pro boxer, me fighting for a living, is just not meant to happen. Otherwise it would have happened, you know, 5-6 years prior. And then, yeah, that's where the birth of Coach DB, that's where that came.
So yeah, obviously, even with all the things you've experienced, that's given you a lot of strength and empathy for the kids that you're around and everything else. So as tough as it is, it makes you such a better mentor and role model that you'll experience what others will never hopefully have to experience. And if someone does, you can relate. You know, there's so many troubled kids, and it's such a big thing. It's rife in every country, and there's no real outlet for it. There's no way of dealing with it besides punishing them and putting them in whatever system. So for an outlet like boxing and somewhere where you can have hope and let all your energy go and feel good and feel like you're actually welcome and part of a family, to have that when you're not welcome, maybe at school, at home, wherever it may be, it's so important and it's so valuable. And it's so much cheaper than if they get tied up in the criminal justice system.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, it's for the government to even want to fund more for gyms to actually do boxing classes and everything else. It's a great outlet, and not everyone's academic. Not everyone can sit there and listen for an hour.
Yeah, not me. Never was me. But yeah, with my life experiences, it seems like that the client base I have now and the people that want to fight for me and things like that, it's like them sort of people are coming into my work life now. It's people with troubled home lives, or, you know, in with the wrong crowd. They might be doing drugs or selling drugs or something like that. And it's these sort of people that always float towards me. I think the universe has definitely given me an opportunity to help people see that there is another side to life. It's not just a horrible experience. Life can be beautiful, and boxing can be the expression for that beautifulness. People are with horrible life experiences. What tends to happen is they go down the wrong paths because they think it's the only way. You know what I mean? I've been around drugs since I was 10 years old, so, you know, I have to grow up and sell drugs because that's all I know. When you take someone out of that environment and you educate them in a way that they can take themselves out, not you having to take them out. If you give someone an education on what a better life can be, 9 times out of 10 that person will just leave that life anyway, because it's on their own accord. Like you said earlier, you know, if the help, it comes from that person. That's the only person that can help is you. So my job as a coach is to educate people so they make the right decisions themselves, instead of, because I've had it, you know, coaches say to me, you should do this, you should do that, you should do this. And the way I was as a kid, it was like, if someone told me to do something, I don't want to do it. Mm-hmm. It was like, you know, you should do this, you should, well, why don't you shut up and leave me just to live my life? So now I'm a coach, I've taken that in, and a lot of the times with a lot of clients, like PT clients that I'm teaching boxing and stuff like that, or fighters, I spend a lot of time just sitting and talking, find out about their life and where I can help improve, where I can give you education in your life. You know, I read it from a young age. I read about Cuss and Mike Tyson, and that's what Cuss used to do, sit and talk for the first, I think it was 2 or 3 weeks with Mike Tyson. There was no boxing training. He just sat and spoke and found out about him, and I think that's how you get the best out of a person.
Mm-hmm. You need to build that relationship, and you need to know each other on every level. It's good to be an open book. When someone's closed off and you don't know much about them and they're not letting you in, you're never really gonna be an impact on their lives. So yeah, it's good that you're influencing it. It sounds more that you're more of a mentor than you are a coach with what you're doing.
Yeah, I guess so. Multiple people have said this to me, but I just like to be known as the boxing coach, you know. But yeah, I definitely think that's what's missing out of boxing in this day and age, is there's not many coaches that will actually do that. A lot of them are just, okay, this is my hours in the gym, 7 till 9 p.m, and I teach you how to throw shots, defend shots, footwork, whatever it is, and then as soon as it hits 9 p.m, I'm out the door, and that's that. There's no like relationship building in boxing. There is, but I think it's like falling out of the game. Like, look at the old, like in the 60s, 70s, 80s, you know, look at how, even to this day, how that era of fighters talk about their team and talk about their coaches. I'd never be this without my team. I'd never be this without my coaches. In this day and age, there's not too much of that.
We're a lot more disconnected as just people in general, not just in boxing, and that's the hardest part, and everyone's suffering and struggling from it, and it's making it worse. But you helping one person, you're not just helping one person, you're helping their family, their friends, you're helping prevent future possible victims. There's such a snowball effect of passing on that bit of kindness and helping that one person, taking that first step and making them think to do the right things is a snowball in the right direction. That one little trigger where someone maybe leaves to stop making the wrong decisions of selling drugs, whatever it may be, completely different. So even with selling drugs, how did you change your mindset from maybe quick cash and knowing only that to wanting to make money elsewhere, knowing that it was going to be hard?
Good question.
There's a lot of kids nowadays that have got that quick cash, that are getting nice clothes, that are living that lifestyle just from a week of doing whatever they're doing, you know? And it's very hard to say, why don't you go work a 9 till 5 and earn minimum wage? Or
yeah, of course.
It's such a hard change. So I know obviously you had boxing, but for you to have the confidence to know that you're just going to give all that up, and
because it never really aligned to me. Like, my soul's purpose was not meant to be doing this. Like, to be involved in going to prison and all that cycle. My life, I knew from a young age, my life was not meant to be that. I was meant to be something in boxing. So when you start doing it, it's all right because you get a bit of money here and there and things like that. But I don't know, there was always something inside of me like I'm just not meant to be doing it. This is not, you know what I mean? I'm wasn't really a successful drug dealer. It was just a bit of pocket change here and there so I could survive. I was working at the time, but I was being paid peanuts, so it's just like a little bit of extra cash so I can buy some shoes or tracksuits or something like that. So you know, I wasn't rolling in it, but don't know, man. I feel like from a very young age I've always known my path, where am I meant to go, what am I meant to do. And then when I started doing that, it was just like, it just didn't feel right. It just didn't feel aligned for me. So it was a short and sweet drug dealing career.
Mm-hmm. It would be great to have people like yourself on some government-funded programs coaching boxing. You know,
Mate, I'd love to.
That's what I've been trying to put. Even the job that I'm in now, I once mentioned it. Even if it's not boxing, even if it's football or something else, just to reintegrate. There's so much good that comes from it. My dissertation was on boxing and young offenders, and I loved learning about it. The impacts that you can have on children with the sport and everything that's happened to you. You know, if you didn't have boxing in your life and you've been through what you went through, who knows where you'd be?
Yeah, who knows? Down a very wrong path, I would say. Like I said earlier, it's always been an excuse. And then when it hasn't been in my life, it seemed I always got involved into stupid things, stupid stuff. And I feel like that's what is missing from groups of young people that are going in the wrong directions, is that discipline, routine. Because when you're in the wrong, like for instance selling drugs, there's no routine. It's just, you know, money coming in, money going out, money coming in. There's no routine. And there's no discipline. These kids aren't getting taught about themselves, you know. There's no like looking within. There's no teaching on meditations or breath work or just being present with yourself. There's none of these things. And I think if everyone got taught that, then they'd be a bit more aware on how silly the wrong paths actually are to their own lives, like how detrimental it will be to their own lives in 5 years' time.
Yeah, there's a lack of mentors in the world.
Oh, absolutely,
And
man.
when you've got teachers in the institution, there's only so much they can do. And there's some great teachers out there, but if you're only teaching a science class and you've got all these people, you're never going to have an impact on. You might do every now and then, but you're never going to have that impact. And there's no real safe space. But yeah, I totally agree with you. I think there's so much opportunity for even the sport of boxing to be made in helping the kids of today. You know, if they had it in schools, if kids knew how to defend themselves, how many people would stop getting in fights when they know they can handle themselves? They wouldn't even want to. How many boxers do you see go out on a Saturday night and start something? None.
Yeah,
None.
exactly.
Unless you got that freak 1%. You know, how many people that have never thrown a punch in their life wants to go do a bag and hit someone?
Yeah.
Because that's all they want to do. Because that's all they're programmed for whatever reason. Because they don't understand so many things that a trained fighter can learn.
Yeah, it definitely should be brought back into schools and in like reoffending systems and stuff like that. Boxing should, you know, boxing. You look at boxing history. How many lives has boxing saved? How many people would say, "Oh, I'd be this if it weren't for boxing," or "I'd be dead if it weren't for boxing," or "I'd be in prison if it weren't for boxing"? And still, it's not being looked at to be put into prison systems or the rehabilitation service. It's crazy. The government, I guess, don't like boxing.
Yeah. So finishing up, what are your goals with your life and your boxing coaching career?
Coach a world champ and have a stable group of professional fighters.
In Basingstoke?
I don't want to be in Basingstoke too much longer.
No. Is there anywhere you looked at moving to?
Overseas, most definitely. I'd like to go to Thailand or Bali or somewhere like that.
Have you been to any place before?
Yeah, I've been to Bali.
Yeah?
I travel Bali, yeah.
Nice.
Gyms out there
Where
are
did
great.
you go?
I went all over. I went a few of the islands off as well. I spent a month, 6 weeks. No, a month. I spent a month there.
Did you do the Gili Islands?
Yeah, I've done the Gili Islands.
Nusa Penida?
Yeah, I've done Nusa Penida. Mate, it was
Nice.
lovely.
Did you go with your missus?
Yeah, I did, yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was real nice.
Yeah, I love Bali. That's
Oh, you've been as well?
a few times. Yeah, we're going for our honeymoon as well.
Ah, mate,
But
wicked.
part of it, just because it's amazing. How nice are the people out there?
Yeah, unbelievably nice, man. Everyone's just so full of love and so open just to talking. And yeah, like I said earlier, it just seems like places like that, people are much more connected to themselves. They know about themselves, whereas here everyone is hiding behind a mask or everything's a facade. No one wants to let anyone in here, whereas places like that, people are open. They don't care about being themselves.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. And they're just happy to be alive.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm guessing you had loads of nasi gorengs and mee gorengs out there.
Yeah, nasi goreng. I tried cooking it a few times, man. I just can't make it the same.
I've never tried. Yeah, I've never tried. The worst is when I was in Australia, they tried selling nasi gorengs for like, I think it was like $18.
Wow, man.
So it's like what, £10 for fried rice.
That's crazy.
Yeah, 10 quid. Yeah, but I didn't pay for it because I'd rather wait to go back to Bali. Well, Danny, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on.
Thank you, Ash.
And I wish you all the best, mate.
Thank you, man. Been wicked.